Chapter 1. At the beginning of the story, an important moment from the protagonist's childhood is revealed, when he first learns the true nature of power in the kingdom. He is only 5 years old at the time, but the lesson he receives from his father will forever change his understanding of politics and hierarchy. The young boy, the main character, accompanies his father to the royal court to learn valuable lessons about aristocratic life and to understand how the kingdom truly functions. He is still a child, captivated by everything around him. The castle, the grandeur of the kingdom, and the aristocratic ceremonies all leave a deep impression on his young mind, eager for knowledge and hungry to uncover the secrets hidden within this world. He watches in awe as the ruler of the kingdom, the Arth, sits upon the throne. He dreams of getting closer to the royal intrigues, to at least glimpse the inner workings of power. However, his father sees things differently. His goal is not just to show his son the outward appearance of power, but to teach him to recognize the true force that operates behind the scenes. He guides the boy toward an important realization. Ruling is not just about sitting on a throne, it is about controlling those who hold power. To illustrate this, he asks his son to look carefully and answer a crucial question: who truly holds power in the kingdom? Without hesitation, the boy answers that it is the Arth, for he sits on the throne and everyone obeys him. But his father urges him to look deeper, to notice the man who always stands beside the king, remaining in the shadows. That man, he explains, is the most powerful person in the kingdom. He not only influences the king's decisions, but, in reality, governs the state by whispering the right words and steering the ruler's thoughts in the necessary direction. The boy is astonished when he realizes who his father is talking about. That man is his grandfather, the great royal counselor, the Merle. Though he does not wear a crown or sit on the throne, his word carries the most weight. He is the shadow ruler, the true master of the realm. And when the current king leaves the throne, a new monarch will take his place. But alongside that monarch, there will always be an advisor, the one who truly determines the fate of the country. As his father tells him one day, the boy himself will take on that role. This thought etches itself deep into his mind. Until now, he had seen power only as an outward display. The crown, the robes, the throne, the royal decrees. But now, a completely different dimension of ruling is revealed to him. He understands that the one who openly reigns is not always the true master. Often, the greatest influence belongs to those who remain unseen, yet possess the ability to guide the ruler by whispering the right choices into his ear. This revelation changes the boy. For the first time, he envisions himself not merely sitting on the throne, but standing beside it, guiding the ruler, making him strong, wise, and indispensable. A new dream takes shape within him, not just to become king, but to be the true master of power, the one who rules not with force, but with intellect. Chapter 2. This chapter takes the reader several years forward from the events of the previous one. The little boy who once received an important lesson from his father about true power has grown up. He is no longer just an observer. He is now part of the very system he once struggled to understand. His name is Derin, and he is preparing for an important event. In a room filled with light, his face is covered with red paint, a symbolic mark representing his status and role in the grand political game. Standing beside him is Huriz, a man dressed in blue and white robes. He is more than just an assistant. He is a part of the hidden system that rules the kingdom from the shadows. Derin looks at his reflection in the mirror. He feels neither excitement nor pride. The red paint seems like a mask, something he must wear to hide his true self. To him, it is not a symbol of greatness. It is merely a tool of manipulation, a way to conceal his essence. His thoughts are filled with irony and frustration because he understands that all of this is just a performance, a game in which his role has already been predetermined. Hurries, however, does not share his skepticism. To him, this ritual is sacred. He reminds Darin of the paint's significance, of its deep-rooted place in the traditions of the great Merle. But Darin doesn't take his words seriously. He sees no deeper meaning in this elaborate ceremony, only control. He even jokes that if Hurries likes the ritual so much, maybe he should wear the paint himself. Hurries, with a smirk, replies that if Darin were to die, he would gladly take his place. Once the preparations are complete, they head to the city's central square. Crowds have already gathered, filling the stands. This is no mere celebration. It is the day of trials, when the young heirs of royal blood must fight to prove their strength and their right to claim the throne. Darin and Hurries make their way to a shaded pavilion where important figures are already seated, including Darin's father. His reception is cold. He is late. His father expresses his disapproval, but Darin defends himself, claiming that the preparations took longer than expected. However, Hurries, with no regard for courtesy, states the real reason. Darin had simply overslept. Still, the delay is of little consequence. Darin knows perfectly well that today's competition is nothing more than a spectacle for the crowd. The winner was chosen long ago. Since childhood, one among all the heirs was selected, the most promising, the one who received the best training, raised to be the perfect ruler. But his education was more than just lessons. He was conditioned. Every time he disobeyed, he was punished. He was not just taught to be strong, he was forced into absolute submission, especially to the will of the great Merle. This perfect puppet is named Marx. He has been trained since early childhood to be the flawless candidate for the throne, but the title and the power he will receive will never truly belong to him. He will be nothing more than a tool in the hands of those who truly rule the kingdom. Marx steps into the arena to face his opponent. This duel is meant to showcase his strength, but Darin knows it is meaningless. It is merely the final act of a play where the lead role was cast long before the curtain rose. The fight appears brutal. Marx fights with his bare hands, something that seems excessive even for a trial like this. But it doesn't matter. He was the victor before the first blow was ever struck. Watching the battle, Darin feels something strange. He knows Marx is doomed to a life where he will never be free. Every step he takes will be monitored, and any sign of defiance will be punished. For a brief moment, Darin almost pities this perfect heir. But in this world, pity is weakness, one he cannot afford. Without waiting for the spectacle to end, Darin decides to leave. Hurries is surprised by his actions, but Darin simply says he has played his part. He attended the trials, did what was expected of him, and that was enough. "Come tomorrow," Hurries calls after him. "You will be mine." Chapter 3. The city of Camelot was alive with celebration. Today was the coronation of the new art, a momentous event for the entire kingdom. The air buzzed with the excited murmurs of the crowd, and the ceremony unfolded within the palace under the watchful eyes of both the common folk and the kingdom's most powerful figures. But for Darin, this day brought no joy. He stood there, watching everything with deep disgust. His thoughts were filled with bitterness. What was supposed to be a tribute to history and tradition had turned into a farce, warped and manipulated by the Merles. As he scanned the crowd, he could immediately distinguish the different factions. Red and black signified the faction of the dragons, while blue and white belonged to the faction of the Fae. But there was one symbol that marked the highest authority, the loose ink that adorned the face of his grandfather, the Great Merle. The new art looked different. His attire did not match the traditions of past rulers, and even the crown being placed upon his head was new. Each art received their own. But the most important symbol of power was the legendary sword of Arthur, Excalibur, the blade that once brought peace to this world. And yet, the one used in the ceremony was merely a replica. That, more than anything, was telling. It was a reminder that true power no longer belonged to the arts, and their rule had become purely symbolic. His grandfather fulfilled his final duty, passing the throne to the new ruler. Then, turning to the gathered audience, he proudly announced the new Great Merle, the pride of the Merle bloodline, his grandson, Derin Vit Merle of the Dragon faction. Derin knelt before Art Marks, performing the ritual of submission. Marks acknowledged his loyalty, stating that he looked forward to his service. As Derin spoke the words of fealty, he fully understood that from this moment on, he was completely entangled in this system. Several days had passed since the ceremony. Marks arrived late to a meeting with Derin, apologizing for the delay. Descending the palace steps, he approached his advisor, who stood with a posture of obedience. But Derin assured him that time meant nothing to him. His only purpose was to serve his art. He reminded Marks that they had a war council to attend. They made their way to the council chamber. At the entrance, Marks was met by his personal guards, Rowan and Malik, who greeted him with formal respect. Inside, the kingdom's top advisors and military leaders were already gathered around a large map, engaged in a heated discussion. The Mistress of Shadows, Vivari, reported suspicious movements of armed wooden Peri traveling through the Gamarni forest. She also mentioned explosions occurring in the area, though the extent of the damage remained unknown. Her spies couldn't get close enough without risking exposure. Lord Ryder Tobir joined the discussion, expressing surprise at the behavior of the wooden Peri. They normally wouldn't harm nature without a strong reason. Alongside General Gantus, he suggested swiftly eliminating the threat using cavalry from the Hellfront. But Marks had a different opinion. He believed the explosions were a trap, designed to lure their forces into the forest. A battle in dense terrain would put the riders at a severe disadvantage. Instead, he proposed using knights from nearby settlements to neutralize the threat. Vivari pointed out that if the knights advanced directly, the enemy would spot them long before they could strike. That's when Derin spoke from behind Marks. He suggested flanking the enemy, using a new trade route on the western side of the forest. The knights could disguise themselves as merchants, allowing them to intercept the enemy at the right moment. Marks agreed with the plan. He ordered the forces to be split into two groups to encircle the enemy. Derin watched him closely, realizing that after years of training, Marks had truly become a capable commander. This made Derin's own task much easier, ensuring his protection and stepping in only when absolutely necessary. Afterward, Vivari shifted the conversation to another group of enemies located beyond the Great River. The knights wouldn't reach them in time, but her walking shadows were already nearby. She suggested trapping them in a cave where they could be easily eliminated. Hearing this, a deep fear settled in Derin's chest. He knew that this cave was not just any random location. It was a secret hideout for the Merle traders, one of the key strongholds that had remained hidden for years. If Vivari's plan was carried out, the entire Shadow network could be at risk.